Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sean and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
What? That's not right.
No, that... Well, technically, it is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I hope that is the correct way of saying it.
It's like Shang-Chi, you know?
Well, it's like Shang...
Shang.
Like Sean with
Shang.
the G, so Shang and then Chi. Shang-Chi.
Shang.
We are not
Shang-Chi?
from Eastern... We are not from...
If you couldn't tell, we're British, and British people do butcher names. It's kind of in our culture to butcher names.
Yep. We also butcher their cultures.
Yes,
So-
we do.
Unfortunately.
So sadly, that is true.
But yeah, so Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. A movie that was long delayed because of COVID and is finally out now after probably doing all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually breaking box office records.
Yeah. And this was the one that I wasn't super fussed about, to be honest.
Yeah, same. I mean, I went into
out
this
of
film...
all of the ones that were coming out of this year, Black Widow, Eternals, Shang-Chi, Venom, and Spider-Man, and all of that, this was the one that was sitting pretty low on my... And this is pretty fucking good.
I think this film's great.
I came out of this movie going, hell yeah, what a great character, what a great world, what a great bunch of action scenes, great fights, all of that. And I was just like, who knew?
Yeah, who would have thought?
Who knew Marvel, who has done this several times with characters that no one's cared about, has made another character that people care about? Who
All right,
knew?
we'll get into it. How do you want to start this plot?
I want to tell a story first about
Okay,
my
tell a story. Go
experience
for it.
going to the cinema.
It's all up to you.
Yes. So, I have watched this movie twice, and I have watched this in two of the one of the nicest ways to watch it, and one of the worst ways to watch it. I went and watched it first time in 4DX, and I went in, and it's 3D, and it's you sit in the chairs, and you have all of that. Now, it gave me, when I booked the ticket, the option to buy glasses, because it's 3D, and you want to have 3D glasses.
Yeah.
So I went, no, I already have 3D glasses. I'll use my 3D glasses from the previous times I've been and done 4DX. Little to my not knowledge, I am stupid and picked up the wrong glasses when I went to go watch the film. And I picked up Imax glasses. And apparently, Imax glasses only last for 24 hours after you open the packaging and put them on your head. And then after 24 hours of light exposure, they just stop working. So I went into that movie with my glasses, ready to watch the film, put them on, and then blur. The only thing that was in focus was the character, and that was horrible. And because I'm stuck in a 4DX chair, and the first 10 minutes of this movie are an action sequence, I couldn't get out of my chair to go and get my glasses from the reception desk. So I had to sit and wait until there's a lull in the action, and then run out the cinema. First time in my life I've ever left a cinema, except for the Star Wars incident, which I'll get into another day. But that is the first time I've had to leave a cinema, so I missed about 5 minutes of the movie, but thankfully it was just the scene in the cafe, basically. I'm meeting the parent of Katie.
Ah, yes. Yes,
And then I got back as the bus fight sequence was happening, like just before it actually kicked off. So I missed the karaoke joke, which then okay, spoilers, at the end of the movie there's a karaoke joke callback.
Yeah.
And I had no idea why there was that callback because I'd missed it. And I just
confused when you saw that
yeah, I
scene.
was so confused when I saw that scene. I have now seen it twice. I understand why that scene is in it. So that is my story. That is my experience with Shang-Chi. And then I went and watched it in 2D IMAX. So
And was that better?
yes, I could actually follow the fight sequence, and I could actually read the text at the bottom of the screen because I couldn't
you couldn't
read it.
That before, so you
I
just
couldn't read it. It was too fussy. I was like, oh, it's subtitled. Oh, I could read like one or two words, but they're crossing over with each other and it's fuzzy. So it was kind of hard. So I have now seen it in its experience where the way it's meant to be watched. Like 4DX, probably great for driving movies, stuff like that. Fucking action movies? Nah. Fucking terrible. Never do it. The only other one I've watched in 4DX is Venom, and that's a terrible experience as well.
Why did you do it?
Because it was the only time that was convenient for me. And that was my reasoning. It was the only one that was convenient at the time, and then eventually they've made it so that the times are slightly better after. Because I wanted to watch a day of release, and best time for me was... But let's get into the actual movie, not my trips to the movie.
Yes. Also, I just want to quickly say, I actually forgot this film was coming out.
Ah, yeah.
Until last week when I saw it came out, I was like, oh yeah, this film is out now. I should probably watch it.
Until I told you, I was like, I've watched it. And you were like, oh, wait, what?
Oh yeah, this film's out. I forgot about this.
Yeah. But now you really enjoy it, so...
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of Marvel's best origin stories they've done.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better ones, because there's actually a villain that's good.
Yeah, I'd say it's in top 3.
Yes, probably. I'd have to go back and watch them all again, which I will at some stage, probably next year. Build up to stuff. Now, let's address the biggest spoiler in the room, probably, Trevor Slattery.
Oh, I loved it. I did see some rumors about him coming back, and I'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you know what tipped me off, and it really annoyed me, is Marvel released the one shot of him being broken out of prison on Disney+.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that must mean this is still canon, so they're keeping it part of the MCU canon. And then I was like, when the film was on and there was the banging noise and it was like, what's that? And then you see a person, I'm like, fucking Trevor Slattery. And then, yeah, lo and behold, the Mandarin from Iron Man 3, one of my favorite films. I know a lot of people have problems with the reveal of the Mandarin in that movie. But hey, look, you had to wait. When did it come out? 2013? Nearly
8 years.
8 years? 8 years?
8 years for payoff.
Resolution. Yeah, 8 years for a payoff. So,
I actually really like that character in this. I thought it was just brilliant.
That weird little chicken pig thing. Whatever the fuck that was. What was it called again?
I don't know what it was called. It was a weird creature.
Monty or something.
Oh yeah, he called it Monty or something.
Yeah, it was some stupid name. But yeah, I really like that address because it's like, yeah, this terrorist basically co-opted my organization to scare the American public, and he named it after an orange. And it worked.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, yeah, okay, that's a bit of cultural relevance in the world, and like Marvel taking the piss of themselves, because they were never going to do that character the way it is depicted in the comics, because that depiction is kind of racist.
Yeah,
it's just evil Asian Mongol empire person who rules the world. And in this, the dude's fucking great. I really like this.
Yeah. It's actually very different from other Marvel villains. You almost sort of feel sorry for him in a way.
Yeah, so basically he is a tyrant, he is a warlord, he is all of that. He's got the 10 rings. He basically destroys empires and builds up his own, and then
He's pretty much conquered the world.
Yeah. And then he's in search of power. And then in 1996, he's on the search for Tallow, a village said to harbor like mystical beasts and expand his power, basically. And so he travels through a magical forest to the entrance that basically then stops him because, like, they don't want a tyrant in there. And then he finds this woman after his vehicle gets destroyed. And then he finds this woman who basically is the only person to ever stop him in combat.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I imagine he does genuinely fall in love.
I think he does too. He actually does. You can see how much heartbroken he is, or how much it shifts.
Because I was like, oh, he's doing it for power. He's only trying to get to her for power. And then you actually see it all, and it's genuinely, he gives up the 10 rings. He gives it all up.
And I think that one scene makes it very different from a lot of other films. Because I've seen people big criticism of this film saying, oh, it's just the same as in other films. But this character, this villain,
it's an actual character.
It doesn't really feel like an antagonist, really, to this story. He's a bad guy. You know he's a bad guy.
Like, he's unforgivable in what he's going out for, but he's so goddamn relatable.
Yeah, he's just there, like, he wants his wife back, and he can hear his wife. He genuinely believes he's the good guy in this.
Yeah.
Like, in the story,
like, that's the best villain, is the one that believes they're the good guy.
Yeah.
Like, he knows he's tearing his family apart, but he's doing it to bring his family back together, which is always a nice thing. And then when he realizes he's wrong, he does just give his son the power to defeat it, which I think is a nice little, like,
it shows he actually does care about his family. He's not just a really bad guy. He does care.
It's like he's not going. I think once he sees his son do the thing because I think the fight scene at the beginning is basically recreated at the end fight between him and his dad, where his son basically does all the moves
Oh,
that
yes,
his
yes,
mum
yeah.
does. Yeah. And then once he sees that and his son doesn't fucking shoot him with the rings, then he's basically convinced, but it's only until the big scary monster comes out and grabs him that he's like, okay, in order to protect my son, I can't hold these. I have to give them to him, basically.
It's very quite emotional scene, really.
Yeah. I didn't expect to. And then a just big dragon comes down and rips the And
Classic
I'm just
Marvel.
like,
They have to have a big
Yeah.
boss fight at the end.
I really like that dragon, though. I really like that dragon because they didn't make it talk, which was the big scary thing that I was like, are they going to make this dragon talk? And they didn't make it talk, and that's nice because I'm sick of talking dragons.
Funny enough,
Disney has too many talking dragons.
at the start of the film, I thought the CGI was a bit off in places, but like towards the end,
Some of the backgrounds.
yeah, I could tell that you could definitely tell it was green screen.
I think it's the
A lot of the bus, I noticed.
I didn't notice it on the bus. I know the bits that were CG on the bus, but I didn't hate it as much. It's just some of the backgrounds, they don't feel like the perspective's right.
Yeah.
Like there's these mountains in the back behind some trees, and it just feels like they're too close to how the mountain looks. And then there's I think it's when he's in the temple about to fight his dad, there's just some background people fighting, and it looks kind of awkward.
Just doesn't look right, does it? Just looks off, just a little bit,
No.
just enough to notice.
But that's my only criticism, really. I don't have any other criticisms of the movie. Like the only things I'd say is the CGI is a little bit weird, and the like everyone's praising this movie for the action.
I love the action in this film.
I like the fighting sequences. I think the cuts in the way that they did it is a bit too Marvel, which is where it's like they cut too much. Like they leave some shots where it's like nicely long and
Yes,
the long takes.
there are definitely
And
some
then there's-
scenes that I would make it
Like the
equivalent
bus
to
one.
Kingsman, where it's just like one
Yeah.
continuous shot and then you can see items flying at kind of falling
Yeah.
items. I really like that. And I truly believe that this film has the best action sequences, like hand-to-hand combat scenes out of all the Marvel films.
Yes, 100%. This is one of the... I think only Winter Soldier probably contends with like hand-to-hand combat fight.
Yes, however,
But that's a different combat.
yeah, it's very different. This one,
They're very...
like I said, I think it's like Kingsman, where it's that kind of continuous shot.
Yeah. I generally can't think of anything bad to say except for like the camera action is a bit shaky at times where it's like you're like on the bus sequence, it's a bit choppy here and there. And then there's the fight on the bamboo structure, like outside the building, like the, what's it called again? The structure? Like
Scaffolding.
Scaffolding, that's what it's called. And that's a bit shaky at times where it's kind of like the camera's doing weird like traversal around, like, and then it just cuts to different angles of like impacts. And that's a bit all over the place. But other than that, it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
very
I
true.
like the sister as well. The sister's great.
Wow, I feel like she was sort of the shadow in this whole film, really. She wasn't really there. However, based on the end cutscene, she's now the leader of the Ten Rings.
Okay, let's go to the end because I didn't like that end credit because they mention it. And well, no, it's just because they mention it at the end, and I'm like, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see because I would have because the first one is great. It's the Captain Marvel's there, Bruce Banner's there, not the Hulk. So that's a big interesting thing because
yes, I did notice that.
Yeah. Also, he's wearing a sling, so
yeah,
you know
I
it
think
takes.
this is not that long after Endgame.
No, it's like a couple because there's post. I think when he's going to the apartment of KD, which is what I missed because I had to watch it the second time, and people I'd seen things on it. There are some posters about post-blip dating apps and stuff like that. So it's like Blip Sync or something is one of the app names, and you can meet up with people who have been blipped, and if your love life's been ruined because of the blip, and your girlfriend or boyfriend found someone after 5 years of you not being there, and then it's awkward and you don't want to do a threesome situation, then blip sync. But yeah, I like that end credit because I think it's going to tie into Eternals.
I thought that. So do you know that creature thing? Initially, I thought that was a creature from Eternals, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool?
It could be a deviant because I think that could be a deviant creature.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, oh, maybe this actually does get released, and this is what starts Eternals.
No, because in the trailers they've basically announced what it's the blip basically caused it. I wonder what it's signaling though, because I feel like it's the Eternals, but I don't know if it's signaling a Celestial.
I mean, it might be. Maybe it's signaling
because
Kang. It depends who it belongs to. Who do the rings belong to?
Well, that's the thing, because the thing is that his dad didn't have the signal start. It's only when he got them that the signal went out. So the question is it a good signal? So it's like alerting the celestial, that maybe he's got celestial blood or something. That's why he can do all of the things he does with them.
Maybe.
And his dad, maybe his dad had, because his dad's thousands and thousands of years old, so he could have been like the offspring of a celestial.
I feel like it'd be more like the mother, because they didn't grow up with the father. And then the mother, like the whole village is like a place for the gods. Also, I think I've heard someone say that place is supposedly the capital of heaven.
Oh, maybe. Well, I don't know.
Or it might be the capital of heaven, so that might be also a thing.
I always love it, though, that they have to, because so much of the MCU is now being written, where it's like, why weren't you there to help this situation? I always love how they just have it, it's a pocket dimension or something. It's just off in another space of reality, because they can't have it take place in the real world.
Not anymore.
So they have to go, there's a magical forest that stops people from getting to this place that you go through a little... I like the portal effect, because it's the water portal, so it's the Doctor Strange portal, but it's water.
But cool.
It's
also,
Doctor
the whole
Strange.
forest, I think, was a cool concept as well.
Yeah, I liked it. I think the CGI on it was a little bit rough.
Let's be honest, we all know the CGI is a bit iffy places.
And they do just basically skip over how the dad got there. Because I know he has the magical map, because he memorized it because the water thing, but it's like they struggled with one car. He has a whole army's worth of cars.
Well, it says it opens once a year.
No, but the pathway opens, so you have to follow. I guess maybe that. I guess because their one wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, their one wasn't timed. They just it was timed as such, but wasn't like it was open.
I suppose. But I still maybe. I still feel like it would have been interesting to see some of the cars just get wiped out because they weren't fast enough.
Maybe, yeah, I probably would have. But let's be honest, this film was long enough already.
Yeah, so it's 2 hours 10 minutes, so it's pretty interesting. But there's a question, because going back to the end credit scene, it's Wong. So Wong turns up.
I love Wong. I love his end credit scene.
However, they don't answer the question, why is Wong fighting the Abomination? Because it looks like they're friends. And that was a question that I wanted to answer. I wanted to know if the Abomination had broken out of prison. It looks like Wong's breaking him out of prison. Because when he goes back through the portal, it looks like the Raft's prison cell.
I feel like this might serve to Spider-Man. Because in Spider-Man, you see him leave in that trailer.
Yeah.
Presumably to fight Abomination. So surely Abomination is going to come back into Spider-Man?
Maybe he's the lizard. Maybe that's that shadowy figure that people are wondering.
Maybe it will be.
But then why would he be fighting Spider-Man? Because Wong's friends with him.
Or maybe he's brought Abomination to help. I don't know.
Also, did you know, because in the thing, the Abomination's got gills and everything, and I imagine that's after years of being on the raft, adapting to water, because I think that's him adapting to the water and everything. So I like that little attention to detail. I wish they'd bring whoever plays him in... Tim Roth, I think, plays the Abomination in the Incredible Hulk, because they're in the What If and everything. They have the murder mystery one, episode 3. They bring back those characters in that situation, but they bring back Edward Norton, and they don't have the Abomination in that one because the Hulk dies before the Abomination needs to be released.
Right.
So I reckon they're planning on maybe bringing back more of those characters from those movies, because they've got General Ross back. I reckon you might get Betty back. I reckon you might get Liv Tyler back, who's
Possibly,
his love.
But...
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think I'll wait and see. You know, it's a long journey we got ahead of us. Maybe a few.
Did you like Razor Fist? The guy with the razor. Yeah, the guy with the razor hand. I thought his character was a little one note.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed him nonetheless. But I wish he used his razor fist a bit more.
I feel like he should have just, died at the start.
I feel like... Well, yeah, because there's some things that are a bit annoying, because the weird shadowy ninja person who, has been beaten...
There's a few things that didn't have payoffs.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this dude gets beating the shit out of Shang-Chi, and it's like, hey, this character has, because there's a moment where he's about to maybe stab him, and then the dad comes in and whips him after the scaffolding fight, and it's like, oh, he doesn't like this person because he remembers the moments where he's been beating him because his dad's orders, and he's like, I'm gonna maybe stab you, and then it's like, oh, the sister has a grudge against this because blah 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 blah, and then it's like, boom, end fight scene. The aunt's taken on, and then she just whoops it. And then, oh, no, shadowy demon creature comes in and sucks the soul out of it. And then, boom, that's that character gone. And then demon Razor Fist boy, who I thought would die, because he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not, just didn't die. And then he gets a lovely little sword thing from him. It's like, oh, cool. I like that, though. I kind of like that, though, because it's like, yeah, let's work together rather than killing ourselves before this thing. And they're like, oh, right, yeah, our leader is kind of crazy at this point because he's releasing all these.
The only problem with them teaming up, all of a sudden it just makes it a bunch of people fighting a CGI army once again.
Yeah.
Which has happened so many times in Marvel.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like that creature design too much. Because the weird transmutation thing and then only dragon scales can beat it, it's kind of like, okay.
If I'm honest, I would have been happy if there wasn't a big fight scene at the end. And it was just him and it versus his dad.
I would have still liked the big dragon to come out.
You just want the big dragon.
Yeah, I don't need the little demon army. I need just the big dragon. I need just that big dragon and the big dragon fight because I like that big dragon.
What's what happened to that big dragon now? Is it just still there?
Yeah. The big which dragon? The evil one or the good?
The good one. Is he just there still?
The good one's the good one's still there because it was already there. It only came out because of Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh, it's dormant, and then once because it basically came out because the gate was opening because he was the great protector, and so it came out because the wall was opening, and then that happened.
Actually, I've changed my mind. They don't really look like they don't look like deviants now. I think it was just that one scene, like tentacles at the end.
You love tentacles, don't you?
I hate tentacles so much.
No, I think they do kind of resemble deviants because the deviants in Eternals trailer do kind of tank damage like that, where they kind of morph around it. I think, if I'm remembering the trailer properly.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is the big deviant.
It would make sense because it's like there's so many.
But it was 4,000 years ago. Wasn't it like 4,000 years ago? Same time as Eternals?
Well, the Eternals came here once man was on Earth. So if man has been around for 4,000 years...
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they came along in the first place to fight deviants. And they said never to return or never to interfere unless deviants were involved.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's once they arrived on Earth, they're not allowed to interfere unless deviants are involved. Because I imagine what probably happened is they interfered and then something bad happened and then they were told not to interfere because the Eternals didn't want... Maybe the Eternals didn't want Earth to have humans, so they went, right, you can't interfere and the humans will wipe themselves out, basically, but the humans haven't wiped themselves out yet. So the deviants, the Eternals will probably... the Celestials will probably return because they've now realized humans are still alive or something, and they're probably planning to wipe out the humans, and then the Celestials will have to... the Eternals will probably end up fighting the Celestials to try and save them, because the Deviants are now involved or whatever. Who knows? We're going to have to wait until November to see.
I can't wait for Eternals, but right now we've got to finish talking about Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so I think in the middle... It does drag a little bit. When the whole family's sitting down and there's just a lot of conversation.
I kind of like that, though, because it kind of gives you the backstory. It's done in an interestingly stylized way.
I only care about the dad. I don't really care about anyone else in that scene.
I like the mom. Oh, yeah. I think the child actors are pretty good. The little sister is good. The little boy kind of just has a blank expression. And then...
You can't expect a lot of that.
Yeah.
Also, what do you make of Shang-Chi actually killing?
I'm okay with it. Every Marvel... I like how he's all cut up about that one thing, and then he's just kicked a bunch of people off the scaffolding of that building, and they've all just fallen to their death. And it's
I don't think it was so much of... He just killed him out of cold blood, because they were trying to kill him, whereas he just killed that other bloke in cold blood. Killing in cold blood's very different.
Yeah, but that person killed his mum, so
it's still cold blood.
Yeah, but I'm sure that dude put up a fight.
I don't know. Shang-Chi is very, very good with a sword.
Yeah, I mean...
Or sword? I mean, knives or whatever. Or he's just good with
Dagger. He had a little dagger.
That's the one.
Yeah. I didn't hate it. Like, every Marvel person's killed at this point. Like, you can't not have a killer. Even in Black Widow, they're like, she's killed a little girl. They had to backtrack that, but it's like, yeah, these people are killers. These people feel remorse, though. That's the difference. They feel bad about killing. Except the sister. The sister doesn't give a fuck. She's like, oh, America made you soft. I reckon she's probably gonna turn villain because she wants to build the empire. She wants what her dad did, but now she's got it, basically.
Yes, and now
She's
women
in
are
control.
involved.
Yeah.
They should
Which
be.
is always
Of course
good.
they should be. Women can
They
be
can
just as
hire all the
equal as
Black
men.
Widows that Black Widow set free because they've got the martial arts
You never know.
skill. Yeah. Well, there is a Black Widow in the fighting ring with an extremist dude.
I don't notice that. Oh no, I did see
Yeah,
that. I didn't know it was Black Widow.
Yeah. Well, it's a Black Widow because she's got the little belt on, and
I didn't
this
notice that
takes place after Black Widow.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
she's
how many
she's
years
got
after? Like 6 years?
yeah, probably because Black Widow is like
More than 6
a
years.
couple months before Infinity War.
Yeah. So probably about 6 years.
The thing is, that extremist dude, how the fuck did he not blow up? Because in all of Iron Man 3, all of them just blow up. He must have been one of those guys on the construction site who just did a Trevor Slattery and just pretended to be dead.
I love that scene.
And it was just...
He was just there.
Oh,
like,
he's such a
I'm
good
not
character.
dead, just sit down and pretending.
I really like the fact that he got into acting because he thought the Planet of the Apes was real. And it's like, oh my god, he got the monkeys to act? And it's like, no, they're just people in suits, dummy. Ugh. I still generally like the fact that they addressed all of that from Iron Man 3. It's just great. Like, come on. It could have been done so poorly. Like, they could have not addressed it at all, but they chose to address it. And it's like, yeah, look, it was a different time. We know it was bad. And we're going to basically give you a proper version of this that's Asian, that's all of this, that's actually compelling. If they fucked up this villain, they could have not pulled off that, like, reveal of, like, having Trevor Slattery return. Because you just wouldn't be allowed to do it. Because if they'd made this villain like a racial stereotype or just a terrible attempt at the villain, it would have just fallen apart. But it's because the dad's so good as the villain that it works.
Well, apparently, this is the first time the actor has actually played a villain. He's never played a villain before. And he said when he got the role, he wanted the villain to have heart.
I think this is the first Western movie he's done as well.
Yeah, he's done a lot of more... he's a Hong Kong actor. Pretty much all the actors in it are Hong Kong.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty impressive cast. I like all of them, really. There's not really anyone I don't like.
No, not
Like,
really. I mean, I thought Awkwafina, her voice is so deep.
I think it's loud. Like, it's kind of like, it swaps between, like, semi, like, we make a great team, and then it's, like, lowered down and stuff.
Like, really
that.
deep.
I think when she's doing emotional stuff, it's kind of deep. And then when she's kind of, like, having fun and upbeat, it's always louder. And it's I don't know. She's all right in Raya and the Last Dragon because she's the dragon, which is why I was like, oh, they're going to make the dragon talk because they love making the dragon talk, man. And then it's going to make quips and I'm going to be like, stupid fucking dragon, stop making quips. You're in the middle of a battle.
It didn't.
No, they actually had some respect for the dragon.
Imagine.
They didn't make a Mushu. Oh.
What do you make of the comedy, though, like, as a whole? Because all the comedy seemed to filter through Katie and Trevor.
Yeah. Most of my audience, when I watched it twice, laughed at Trevor's stuff. And that was the most the people laughed. I think maybe the karaoke stuff made some people laugh.
Oh, actually, when Wong stepped on the microphone, I couldn't hold myself any longer. Because I still remember from Doctor Strange, it just being a really serious, just like guy, just like didn't smile.
Yeah, but he loves Beyonce.
He loves Beyonce.
No, he doesn't know who Beyonce is. Isn't that the joke? He doesn't know who Beyonce. So maybe he now knows who Beyonce is.
Well, no,
maybe that's
in
why.
Doctor Strange, he says he doesn't know who Beyonce is, and then he listened to Beyonce in Doctor Strange.
Well, maybe he's doing that because Doctor Strange told him about.
He probably
Beyonce.
did, yeah, but. Yeah.
And then this is Wong experiencing life because Doctor Strange has introduced him to all of this pop culture shit. And now he's enjoying it. He's going to dogfight. He's going to fighting rings to experience it. He's going and listening to classical music and all of that. I think it's a lot of fun.
I think the other reason why this character is so good is because how relatable Shang-Chi is. Even though he's had like a terrible upbringing, he's still just a normal guy. He just wants to be like,
He's just a valet.
It's a valet, going out to karaoke nights, having a few drinks. It's just a normal guy. That's all he wants.
Do you know the story behind this and everything? Because how he got the role?
No, I don't know.
Because after like I think 4, he tweeted out, "Nice job, Marvel. How about we talk?" And then it's like I think like 4 or 5 years later, he tweeted out, "Hey Marvel," like another Marvel movie came out. He's like, "Hey Marvel, do you want to talk?" And then it's just like afterwards, he managed to get the role.
Oh wow.
And now, and before he was famous and everything now because of this, he did a bunch of like stock photos,
right.
and people have found those stock photos now, and they're all becoming memes. And
Wow.
so, like it's him in a business suit and everything, and it's just him, like, you know, the old like classic stock photos where it's just really weird, obscure like things because you just need a stock photo, and it's like he's just doing them now, and it's just like, wow, okay,
Apparently he's
cool.
Canadian.
Yeah. So again, MCU, Canadians, Ryan Reynolds, like Canada makes some good stuff.
Well, apparently he's born in China, so I think he's got like a dual nationality.
He's both Canadian or he lives in Canada at least.
Oh yeah, I see a stock photo.
Yeah, they're just like businessmen. I think there's one where he's dancing, stuff like that. It's great.
Quite funny.
Like, we're gonna get a lot of memes out of this now.
He probably loves it as well.
Yeah, I think he does, because it's just like he's always wanted to be a superhero. So he's like Tom Holland. It's like Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield and all of that like dreamed of playing Spider-Man when they were younger, and now they got to fulfill that role.
It's always good when you get an actor like that. They're not doing it for paycheck. They actually want to be that character, and he comes across.
Yeah, he's having a blast. He's just charming, relatable. He has his obligatory Marvel shirtless scene in the fighting ring. Because it's like, yep, you got like massively ripped for this. We need to show it off once. And I'm like, when is the equality for women gonna happen?
Why can't the women show as well?
Yeah, where's the obligatory woman? Nah, that's unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
maybe.
Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it's men and pervs basically. Like, it wouldn't be about the woman's abs; it would be about the other assets on a woman. Unfortunately, so maybe you'll get tank top or whatever.
Well, maybe, you know,
the
I don't mind a few abs.
Obligatory tank top scene in a Marvel movie. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Sports bra.
Yeah,
Obligatory sports bra moment where it shows off the abs.
Although that didn't happen.
No.
That could happen.
Well, the sister. That's the one thing that stood out to me in that fight sequence is at the end where they're all like standing around. The sister is the only one wearing like a bright color comparatively, because all of them are wearing red for the Talal people, and then all of the ninjas are wearing the black, and she's just wearing gray or white, and she just sticks out so much because everyone else just kind of merges because it's black and red, and then she's just there in the middle as white, and it's kind of funny to me. It's just like, oh wow, her outfit for some reason just really isn't matching anyone else's.
I imagine it was probably to do with CGI.
No, I think it's just maybe, but I don't think it's that. I think it's just funny though that her mum left the outfits, and it's like, how does she know what the sizes were going to be? She doesn't.
Well,
know
she was
what
psychic. Did you know that?
Oh,
she the gods told her.
Yeah, probably. Like, it's because the aunt knew him straight away, even though I know he said his name. But I like the aunt. The aunt was great.
Yeah.
I like that fight sequence with her and him because I like the fact that the fight style for Shang-Chi is basically he has closed fists for most of the movie, and it's his dad's fighting style, but his mum's fighting style is open fists, like just
It's
open
like
hands.
that open palm, like,
Yeah.
Like, don't be so aggressive with it. Just like, come here, go.
Use it to deflect. Use it to like push. Don't hit. Push, and that sort of fighting style.
But now
and
he
I
has
like
the
that-
rings.
Yes. Although Wong has the rings.
Well, no, I think Shang-Chi's going to.
Oh yeah, he has the ring. I am genuinely curious what they're gonna do, whether or not that's an Eternals thing, because it seems like an Eternals web.
It might be, but who knows?
I
There
imagine
have been
it
multiple
would.
owners. It might be a sequel for Shang-Chi in the works. Who knows? Maybe Captain.
I imagine this
Marvel.
is gonna get a sequel. This will definitely get a sequel.
It has to. Look how much money it's made.
Well, comparative to everything else, but during a pandemic, it's like, yeah, this is doing well. This is beating like every other movie at the moment, and it's not even releasing in China, which is its targeted demographic.
Yeah, because the comics are racist.
Also, I think China has a limit on how many movies it will let in from the Western
10 years.
world.
10 years? 10.
10 movies, and
10
then
movies, yeah.
I think they've already done most of them at this point.
Well, they select out about the start, and they chose not to have Shang-Chi because of the racism in the comics.
Yeah.
And the director of Eternals is against China.
Ah, right.
I think she actually is Chinese, but then she speaks out against. I could be wrong about that. I know she has spoken out about China.
Well, China's fucking over kids with their video games, so I'm against
Well,
them too.
It's pretty
We're
much
now banned in China.
all but in name a dictatorship.
Oh, yeah. But let's not get into the politicals, because we're not as equipped to talk about it as we'd like to be.
No. Chloe Zhao.
I feel like the
that's it.
title is too long. I feel like The Legend of the Ten Rings. I think Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings would have probably been a better title.
Or just Shang-Chi.
Mm,
I think maybe the Ten Rings was in there just to bring everyone else from Iron Man. And they go, oh,
Probably.
I remember the Ten Rings.
I remember those 10 rings from that movie in 2008 and then was never mentioned again, even though they're the terrorist organization that held and captured Iron Man. Okay, so the question is, because that's Iron Man 3 that they acknowledge.
Yeah.
So is Iron Man 1, because that's a different organization?
I don't know.
That's the question that I have just thought about, because Iron Man 1 wasn't appropriating, because they only addressed the Mandarin. So was the Ten Rings in Iron Man 1 part of his organization?
I think a lot of people think it is. That they kidnapped Iron Man, but they only kidnapped Iron Man because of
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane, yeah.
But I think they also wanted the weapons. So maybe the Mandarin was Wen Wu, I think his name is. Because they don't call him the Mandarin in this, because, racism and bad comics.
Do you know what would have been a good scene? Is if the man they went to kill was like something to do with the first Iron Man. I know they couldn't have had it, but it'd been good.
Yeah.
If it was like the leader in the first Iron Man was the person who killed his mother.
If they'd brought Jeff Bridges back as like the leader of the organization but then he would have already been died, because he dies at the end of Iron Man 1. So I guess you couldn't bring Jeff Bridges back. I don't know how you'd do it if you did that.
No, I know you can't do it because I imagine they don't think that far ahead, but
Yeah.
it's a few years ahead, but it would have been cool. They have a nice callback like that.
Yeah, I generally wonder if they thought about Iron Man 1. Because they bring it up in Iron Man 1, and then Iron Man 3 is the payoff, and now this is the payoff to that. And I wonder if, maybe this is it. Maybe, because it was all televised, maybe Tony Stark then came out and told people about because the Ten Rings is televised, because it's in Iron Man 1, and it's on the news reports, and everyone knows about the terrorist thing. And maybe after all of the events of Iron Man 1 happened, because Iron Man basically goes and does everything, and he's cocky, and he tells everyone all about his adventures and everything. Maybe Guy Pearce's character, whatever his name is, I can't remember it, goes and basically copies the Ten Rings, because he knows that's who captured Iron Man in Iron Man 1, and Iron Man 1's Ten Rings is part of the organization of the Ten Rings in Shang-Chi. But the
That's
Mandarin
a very complex theory.
Well, no, it's me explaining it poorly, but basically the organization in Iron Man 1 is the Ten Rings, part of Shang-Chi Ten Rings. Guy Pearce's character, Aldrich Killian,
yeah,
I think, in Iron Man 3 has seen that, because it's all televised, and Tony Stark is now Iron Man and knows about the fact that Iron Man was captured by the Ten Rings, so incorporates the Ten Rings into his plan to screw over Tony Stark as like a fear tactic, because he knows they're the organization that captured him and created him. So he uses that as a fear tactic, and then the Mandarin gets pissed, and blah blah blah. Today is current history.
Yeah, it might be.
I'm explaining it poorly, but I think that is the best way that they can explain the two different Ten Rings in the Iron Man movies.
I mean,
but they never will.
They're ever going to explain it.
They're never going to. They'll just skip
Unless
it.
there's a what if episode, maybe. Who knows? Maybe there is a what if episode. We do see a Tony Stark thing.
There's a lot of Tony Starks, but he's all dead in them.
Well, no, but you see him in the trailer, like going somewhere.
Oh, with Killmonger.
Yeah.
So maybe. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That one is the only probably what if episode where Iron Man isn't dead immediately. Because in all of the ones where Tony Stark's popped up, he's just dead immediately. Because I think they don't want to have to pay the voice actor so that he didn't have to do many lines, so people weren't that mad. But yeah, I
mean, I don't know what else to say about this film. I really enjoyed it. I think this could be in my top 5, just maybe on a good day.
Generally, I felt so bad when I watched it in 40X, and I missed the beginning, and that's how much I liked it. I was like, I've got to go back again, and I've got to watch it.
It's just I don't know why it's a good film. I couldn't tell you. I think it's just because it's different. It's refreshing.
Yeah, like I don't have to be the same ethnicity of the character to connect with them.
No,
like a lot of people for some odd reason have that hang up, and I'm like, why? Like, oh, you're not a woman. Oh, you can't connect to this character. Okay. They have the same struggles as you, but they have a gender swap. Oh boy, that's a thing that hangs you up. Like if it was a man, you'd be fine with it, but just because it's a woman or
there's a lot of sexist far right people in the world
who pretend that they're not, and I'm like, no, it's
no, you are. I mean, I've seen people on the internet saying they hate Shang-Chi for various reasons.
Well, the amount of people who are coming out and saying this movie would bomb because it's an Asian lead. I'm like, no, this movie's doing fucking gangbusters in a pandemic.
Well, no, the only reason why it might bomb is because it's a new character after the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, that's if it does bomb, it's because of that. It's like Suicide Squad. It's like people burnt out on
probably the first Suicide Squad. And they're like,
yeah,
I don't
the
know
first one. It's a pandemic, and they're like, I don't know, because people generally forget that the most of the world does not follow superhero news, movie news, as much as we do.
No, they don't. Which is probably why Suicide Squad bombed so much.
Yeah, because people had a bad experience. They don't know who James Gunn is. Most people don't know who directed Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, they don't.
Most people don't follow it. Most people don't know that he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Most people would have gone, oh, a new Suicide Squad. I hated the first one. Let's just not watch this.
Is this your favorite film of this year so far?
Oh, it's hard to say. I'd have to look back over what I've watched this year. So we have Justice League, Godzilla vs. Kong. That's probably high up there at the moment. Mitchell's vs. the Machine, also high up there. Deadpool, the Lego version, because I watched the entirety of the Deadpool movie in Lego. Because that came out this year. Mortal Kombat, Army of the Dead. Oh, fuck, Army of the Dead is terrible. That might be up there with Alita Battle Angel. Cruella, Raya and the Last Dragon, Hitman's Wife Bodyguard, A Quiet Place 2, Fast and Furious 9, American the Motion Picture, Luca, The Tomorrow War, Black Widow, The Suicide Squad, Free Guy, Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings. I've watched about 19 movies this year that are new, and I've watched 8 movies that are old this year. I'd say it's definitely in the top 5. I wouldn't be able to place it at the moment, but definitely in the top 5 so far.
Yeah.
Out of the 19 movies that I've seen this year.
It's definitely kind of up there for Marvel films. I mean, it's definitely top half, easy.
Yeah. I maybe have to watch it a couple more times, see how it holds up on repeat.
Yes, that's true. It all depends how it holds up. On first watching, this is definitely probably my top 3 Marvel films to be watching first time. A lot of Marvel films I don't like watching first. Not don't like, but it's like I find it a bit generic watching first time. Until you go into a bit more depth of it, then you go, oh, there's a bit more depth into these characters.
I think this has a better resolution than Black Widow. I like Black Widow up until the resolution at the end, and I only don't like the final 2 scenes in Black Widow.
What, with her, that's like...
It's her looking off in the distance at General Ross's cars arriving, and then it cuts to her going off trying to find the Avengers. Why is there the scene of her looking off to the trucks when she could have gone with the Black Widows and whatnot to escape? Because there's no explanation from how you get to the scene to the other scene. Because it's like, oh, she's going to get captured. Oh, nope, she's going to go rescue the Avengers from prison.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But she had a way to get out. That's what I don't understand. It's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to them. But then we don't see that. We don't get any of that. I imagine they had to change it because of pandemic. I reckon there was some lines or something that hinted at or happened in another scene. Like General Ross came up and it was like, blah, 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 blah. Here's this and this and this and this and this and whatnot. And then she either fights her way out or something. Who knows? But they had to change that for some fucking reason. Or they didn't think about it. And then they went, oh, shit. We should have done that, but they didn't film it because Scarlett Johansson wanted to sue them.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, that is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Out of 10?
I'd give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 9.
I'm definitely scoring it high. I can't remember what I gave Black Widow. I think I gave Black Widow like a 7.
I would give Black Widow, thinking about it a bit more, about 6.7.
Yeah, it's pretty good up until I genuinely don't like the final scene.
I find Black Widow is just a generic Marvel film. It's just come out too late.
If it came, I think if it was placed either before or after Infinity War, it would have been better because it gives you the build up to Black Widow's death in Endgame and you would have cared. The reason people aren't going to see it or don't care is because she's dead. And yes, it's a prequel, but why would you care she's dead? She's not returning, she's dead. Like, oh boy. I can fill in some backstory that's not necessary because I know the end point of her story. Like, yeah, it's the problem with prequels.
Yeah,
like,
but I think the difference, only saving grace of the prequel is Yelena.
Yes.
Because she becomes the next Black Widow.
I think it's not a Black Widow film. I think it's a Yelena film, which is sad for a Black Widow film. because it's not her story. It's her. It's her
Passing on the mantle.
basic. Yeah, it's her passing on the mantle movie. It's not her movie. Whereas this movie, Shang-Chi, is his movie. And
I
his
really find it
sister's
difficult to say things about this film because it's just a good film.
It is generally hard to review a movie that is good.
Yeah.
It is a lot easier to review a movie that is bad. Like our review.
There's just not a lot of criticism to say. It's just a good film to watch. We would recommend go watch it.
Yeah, generally, if you're worried about, because this isn't coming to Disney Plus until months later, so it's not out day of release. This is the first of the Disney stuff. I think Free Guy is the same, where it's not releasing theatrically and at home at the same time. So if you want to wait. If you want to risk the pandemic, if you're vaxxed up, if you're wearing a mask, all that, go watch it. Generally, it's a good movie, and I think a lot of people should see this. If you're Asian and you're looking for a superhero to aspire to, and you have this weird thing where you can only aspire to be the thing
if you're
where
a weird person that can only aspire to be someone who looks exactly the same ethnicity of you.
Okay, my that can sound wrong if you're thinking about it from, I don't want Asian people, I don't want black people.
Yeah, I know, that's why I was
taking
taking the piss out of you a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It can sound wrong because I want everyone to be able to look at someone and look at themselves in that person.
Yes, welcome to the society we have now. We have to explain yourself so much so that you don't get called out.
Yes. So yeah, like, I'm not saying it's bad to not be able to aspire, like if you're an Asian kid, to be able to look at a white person and go, I can be that person. But I generally think it's a good thing for like an Asian person to be able to look up and see an Asian person's face or whatnot on the screen.
See,
and
I
this
think
is
it's a
character.
good job that all of us can go see an Asian person on the screen.
Yes, I like all of it. 2021 sucks in terms of cancellation.
I think we should end it here so we don't get cancelled.
No one's going to have made it this far, so...
Probably not, but if you did make it this far, thank you. Leave a like, share the pod, leave a review, tell us how we can do better. We will try to implement your ideas.
Yeah, see if we can think of a structure for these.
And we'll see you next week for something, because I don't remember what it is.
Yes, something.
It's something.
It'll be something. We will see you then. Farewell, ye travelers.
Goodbye.
Buy some 10 rings.
Buy some 10 rings.